I'm here with Phil Green. We've got a mutual friend in Tim Kaufman. He's lost 110 pounds. It's a great story. And so, first off, Phil, thanks for taking the time. And maybe we could just start with where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Phil Green. I'm 44 years old. I'm from Texarkana, Arkansas. Um, I've been married to my wife Heather for 15 years next month, and I once was very heavy. Everybody called me the funny round guy, and but now I've found the plant-based route, and I've lost a lot of weight. Just did it day by day, and I'm happy I found that way.
Yeah, well, you look great. So, were you always a little bit bigger? Did you grow up bigger, or was that something that kind of developed later in life for you?
That came probably right after high school. I got a job, was able to buy my own food, living on my own. Of course, I didn't cook, so I just went out to eat McDonald's for breakfast, Burger King for lunch, Pizza Inn or Pizza Hut for dinner, hot wings, that kind of stuff. And it just packed on. I'd be like, I started out maybe 32 jeans, and then I'd go up to 34, and like, oh, I'm not going to go up to 36, and then I went to 36, and then it just kept on going till finally at 40, I was wearing 42-inch pants.
And how long did that take? How long was it from the 32 to the 42?
On and off, I probably was close to 42. I never was 42 till I was 40, so I was going up in between there and 38 probably for 20 years.
And then, I know you're from Arkansas. I'm from Louisiana. I know food is a huge focus for
Yes.
us down here. What's it like for you guys there?
I mean, you got fried chicken, fried frog legs, fried catfish. Everything's fried. I mean, even greens are fried in bacon grease. So, you got your good greens, but you soak them in grease. So it's you know how it is in the South. Everything's just fried and battered and greased up, and uh, it's a push. Everybody's a grill master, so everybody's doing pork chops and ribs, and that's just how it is. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but that's how it is here. Just everybody wants to be the best barbecue grill master there is.
Yeah, it's funny those things that we find our identity in, and how they are sometimes aren't the most life giving. So growing up, were a lot of people around you, whether it was family or friends, overweight, or
Oh yeah,
even in this time in life?
my grandmother, my mom, my dad, all of them were overweight. We're all short. I'm 5'6". My dad was 5'6". My mom's 5'5". Just everybody was just short, fat, and round. So my brother, he was the anomaly. He got to be 5'9". He's taller than us, and he always was slim, even though he ate exactly like we did. So, and I thought, man, that's not fair. But even to this day, he's still slim. So,
Oh wow! And was once you started gaining the weight, I mean, it sounded like it either bothered you or you were averse to going up in pant size. Was it something that really you thought about, or was it something that you tried to do anything about, or was it just like kind of in the background?
it was kind of in the background. But then, whenever it would get to where my pants were tight, I'd be like, I got to do something. And then sometimes I would do something, and then I'd lose a couple pounds, but then I'd gain it back, and then of course my pants would get tighter, and so I'd finally have to just give in. I mean, there was lots of times I wore pants with the buttons not buttoned, just to extend the time that I was in them, even though that they weren't fitting.
Yeah, I think a common thing, and for me as well, when I was bigger, not that it's that much different now, but I absolutely hated shopping. Hated shopping because
Yeah,
it was you knew there was a
yeah,
chance you were going to be going up, and then they weren't going to have that many in your size.
yeah, and you had to pay a dollar two extra for the extra large sizes.
So whenever you were bigger, what were some of the frustrations or struggles that you had?
Uh, Really, I would have to say, and I know this doesn't sound right, and I probably wasn't, but at the time I thought I was a fat, happy guy. You know, I was funny, but a lot of times the jokes were about my weight. I did joke about my weight. That was my way of coping, I guess. And but as far as struggles, I'm a mechanic, so there's times that when I needed to get into a tight spot, I couldn't get into, or I needed my arm to fit in a place, but it was too fat to go in, and those kind of things. Playing with my kids, running. I was tired, winded. Uh, you know, things just kind of got in a rut. Just kind of keep just trying to avoid this and avoid that. Um, but that's it's a lot better now. But I mean, I never thought about it back then. It just seemed to be just everyday stuff.
Wow. So I know that you wrote to me, you said this. You said I was 279 pounds, had a high blood pressure, sleep apnea,
Yes.
a
Oh
fatty
yeah, sleep
liver,
apnea.
intense chest pain, and you said at night you would pray to God that He would take care of your wife and boys if you didn't wake up. What was
Yeah.
life like back then?
Uh, it's funny during the day I'd work and stuff like that. My chest would hurt and I would just keep on going. But it was really at night that I felt it, and I don't know why. There might be some reason about laying down or whatever, but man, it would get so bad that I was embarrassed about my size, about what I've done, let myself get to, and I wouldn't tell my wife that I was hurting. I just I just lay there and hope that everything was all right. So I guess it was kind of down. The next day I'd wake up and I'd just be the regular old Phil. Go have fun, joke around, and do what I can do. But there was times that when I had to wear that BiPAP, the BiPAP machine for breathing at night, I just hated it. It was just I knew something was wrong because people weren't made to have to wear a machine to breathe in their sleep, and it was embarrassing. When I went somewhere, I wouldn't take it, so I was taking a chance of something happening. Half the time, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, or I wouldn't wake up, but I would throw the mask off, and I'd wake up the next day, and it's just blowing around uh, everywhere. But that was probably the worst part when I finally got to the point where I had to have accessories just to make it.
I think I was probably on the way to that, but I never had to use one. Can you talk about kind of what that experience is like and also what it is actually that is and why you had needed it?
Well, sleep apnea is where you actually stop breathing when you're asleep, and it makes you tired the next day. There's lots of times driving home from work, I'd get really sleepy. Um, what it does is, also I had obstructive apnea, so it would actually block my airway. So I would also lose my oxygen level. I think when I went, a couple. I did a sleep study, and it was like I can't remember 6, 7, 8 hours, and they said I had couple hundred apneas over that time. And not only that, but my oxygen level had got to just right at 69%. And they said that's horrible. So they put me on the BiPAP, which is stronger than a CPAP because it actually has two pressures and it helps you breathe. So it gives you high pressure for inhale and lower pressure to exhale. And the high setting was 20, and I was on 19. So they said I had it pretty bad. And also at the time I got that, I was maybe 38 or 39. And yeah, it's not a fun thing to have.
Wow, that's crazy. I think that you mentioned looking back that you realized that you had kind of stopped trying. What do you mean by that?
Well, over the years I had done different things. Of course, just like everybody else, the Atkins diet, uh, cutting back on meal portions, um, doing some exercise. When my first son was born, I wanted to be a good dad and all that stuff. So I lost weight. Well, when I got married, I'll say that first. I got on the Atkins diet. I lost a good 60 pounds, 70 pounds. I mean, I got married. And then, of course, shortly after I got married, I wasn't doing the same things I was before I got married. Uh, so I had to relax and I gained weight. And then when my wife was pregnant with my first son, of course, she would order a big meal or make a big meal because she was hungry and take about 2 bites and offer the rest to me. And of course, I would take it. So I gained like 26 pounds when she was pregnant. And, but anyway, I wanted to lose weight when he was born. And so I did. And I lost probably about 40, 50 pounds. And gained it back, and then I had my second son when I was 37, and I thought, or almost 37, and I thought, well, I need to get back on track, and I lost weight again, and of course I gained it back, and I mean there was times in between. I mean those were the major times where I lost the most amount of weight. Usually I'd lose 10, 20, and then I'd gain it all back.
Yeah, I know that in 2013 you said your wife set up a physical for you, which
Mm-hmm.
from the sound of things, it seemed like it really kind of turned things around.
Right.
Had you guys had discussions about your weight, candid discussions about your weight or your health previous to that point?
No, I mean, I was tired, even though I was on the apnea machine and everything, I was just tired a lot of times. I breathed heavy. My snoring was horrible, but it always had been, but it was really horrible. Um, and it just was the only, one thing, and, no reason to be embarrassed about it. I did have some failures in the bedroom there a couple of times, and that was an issue. It made her feel insecure. It wasn't her fault. It was, it was me. So I had blood flow problems. I was a mess, and so she knew that I needed something. So she set me up a physical.
So how did that physical go?
Actually, the physical was just normal, just went through. But what happened was my doctor asked me, he said, I know you're overweight, you got this and that. He's like, what is your biggest problem? What are you worried about the most? And I told him my memory. I was having a horrible time remembering anything. It's still not 100%, but it's better. But I mean, it was just getting to where I couldn't remember anything. And so he sent me to a neurologist. And the neurologist is the one that I went to. And she said that I had I had hypertension, I had metabolic syndrome, I had the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, everything. She told me it wasn't, she said I was going to have a heart attack. She said I was going to be diabetic, if I just kept on doing what I was doing. And I know it's funny that a neurologist had to tell me that, but she says that, the everything with the blood flow, you got to have good blood flow to get to your brain. Uh, I was just not getting it. And she's the one that told me all that stuff, and she put me on a plan. She said, go on a vegetarian diet, whole food vegetarian diet, which could include fish and stuff like that. She said you could have some fish a couple times a week and that. Read Dean Ornish's book, The Spectrum, and get a hobby and this kind of stuff. So I did. I went home and of course I wanted to be hard headed, but I knew that I needed to do something. So I said, I'm going to try this. Sounds like a plan. So I started eating whole foods. I kind of, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I was eating corn chips, but I was like, hey, it's corn and it's, but still, even eating that kind of stuff, I wouldn't eat anything that had more than 3 or 4, ingredients. And within 3 months' time, with only eating fish maybe twice a week, it wasn't even fried. I'd eat like tuna or something like that. And within 3 months' time, I went back, and everything, all my blood lipids, everything was like 1 point. Everything was within range or was 1 or 2 points off. I mean, in just 3 months, and I'd lost like 30 pounds in 3 months. I was like, wow, there's something to this.
Why do you think at this point, you were kind of ready to receive the information? Did you just kind of realize the severity of it? And, whenever they started talking about, major procedure, possibly dying or a
Yeah.
major heart attack,
Yeah.
what do you think kind of clicked for you at that point?
Well, for years, well, for one thing, I was given medications 2 years prior, and I never took them for high cholesterol. I just set it on the shelf, and I was in denial. And I knew I had problems. And uh, my dad, he had problems for years from being overweight. He had diabetes. He had a heart attack. He had strokes. He had been in nursing homes, kidney failures. I mean, he had just had the works for for several years, like almost 10 years. And, every time he went to the doctor, all they ever did was give him more medicine. And the more medicine he got, the madder I got at doctors, because I was like, well, I don't understand. Why is it just medicine? What causes it? So in my mind, I kind of always knew that there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I mean, surely I thought about food, because I remember telling my wife years ago that I said, I know I ride a motorcycle, and I don't mind if I ride in it. I don't care if I die in a motorcycle wreck. I don't care if I die some other way. I said, I just don't want food to be the thing that takes me out. And this kind of brought it to light, that, even though I had said it, it didn't click. But this time, with that, it did, knowing that my dad had had all those problems. And then watching the videos, September 21st, 2013, I finally watched, I had watched a couple of days before that, I had watched Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead and Forks Over Knives. And on September 21st, 2013, I said, I'm going to do this. And I started watching videos by, everybody, Dr. Esselstyn, McDougall, Jeff Novick, Neil Barnard. I was like a fiend. I just wanted to know more and more and more. And the more I learned, the more I knew that this was the way to go, that this could heal everything. So, of course, I tried to get my mom and my dad on it and everything. And sadly, my dad passed away January of 2014. So I never really got to get that. But knowing what he went through, and my mom had diabetes, which she doesn't eat this way like I want her to, but she does better, and she's off all of her diabetic medication. She was diabetic for 5 years, and she's off of it now. She's hard-headed. She's hard-headed and doesn't want to keep on. She doesn't want to do it 100%, but what she has done has helped, and I think it's prolonged her a little bit. But mainly it's my parents. Was I saw what was coming. It was the writing on the wall. There wasn't nothing that I could. The only thing I could do to change it was change my lifestyle. That's. I couldn't think of nothing else, and I didn't want to take medication.
Yeah, I think that's huge because I think for a lot of people, it's very easy to get into this is what I was destined for.
Mm.
You see what's around you. It's kind of in a way understandable to think that it's just a natural progression of things. So that's huge that you were able to, kind of recognize it for really what it was. So I know, we talked about food earlier. What was that adjustment like for you now that I would imagine that your eating protocol changed pretty drastically.
Oh yeah.
How did that go?
Well, at first it was mainly it was just difficult trying to figure it out. It's funny when I set my mind to it, it wasn't that so difficult. Like spaghetti, I would have spaghetti sauce with no oil, and I would just add onions and garlic and stuff like that to it, and I would make lentil tacos, and lots of times I didn't even know what any of this stuff was. I was just like, let's see, I got lentils and I got taco seasoning. Let's see how it goes. I didn't even know there was recipes out there for the most part. And I even found some Facebook pages. Uh, Get Healthy Marshall. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm sure you have. That was my first tapping into other people that actually eat my way. Because in Texarkana where I live, there's no one that. I mean, now I've found some because we've started a plant-based Facebook page, and we've actually had some potlucks. But until then, that was my only way to tap in, and I would go to their potlucks. It was an hour and a half away, and I'd ride my motorcycle to Marshall, and I'd go to. I only went to a couple, but I met Ed Smith and Amanda Smith, and they kind of took me in, and they accepted me every time I came, and I really enjoyed their company, and I really, that helped me out tremendously. Was just knowing that I could go just an hour and a half away, and there was people that I knew that ate this way. It was just, and now now I know a couple of people here. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, wow, that's a commitment. So, you brought up motorcycles a couple times. Um, how did, if I would have gone back 5 years and had a conversation with you then, at your bigger self, and told you this is how you're going to be eating, how would that conversation have gone?
I'd have probably just laughed and said you're crazy and you know and probably some other things that probably is not PC. uh, you know, yeah, because I mean that was the farthest. I was going to barbecue, cook-offs and one of the bike rallies that I went to just this past month is Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue up in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And of course, you're surrounded by barbecue. And of course, I didn't have any. I found potatoes and bananas, lots of bananas. In my bag, in my motorcycle bag, I always carry bananas to make sure I've got something there.
That's awesome. So what is that like now, being on the other end of it and still being, it sounds like you're still heavily involved in that community. And then also, I'm thinking there's probably a decent amount of people who knew you before.
Oh yeah, yeah,
What do those conversations look like?
Oh, really? They ragged me pretty hard sometimes, but they saw what it did. They accepted. Some of them say that they wish they had the willpower I had. You know, uh, they give me a hard time here and there, but it's all in fun. I've never had anybody just do it maliciously. Everybody seems to understand. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic. I work at a military facility, that repairs military heavy equipment. And, everybody's big, not everybody's big, but, a lot of brawny guys that, rough, you know, uh, tough guys. And, I had a couple of them mess with me a couple times, but, once they saw everything, and now that everybody just accepts it, it's nothing. When I'm at the microwave, I have my sweet potato and greens, and they'll be like, "Hey, you want some of this pork chop?" And I'm like, "No, you can have it. More for you. No problems." But other than that, it hasn't been that big a deal. I think everybody understands that I'm committed to it, and I think that's why they can mess with me because I'm not like it doesn't hurt me anything. No offense to me.
Yeah. So anything that's changed for you that has surprised you, whether it's, socially or mentally or physically, emotionally, anything that you weren't necessarily expecting?
To run a 5K or a 10K, that I was like, I was one of them that joked like, if you ever see me running, you better run too because something's chasing us. you know. So to actually run, and I tell people, I mean, running. I know there's some guys on here that are just like crazy runners, and I'd love to aspire to be that way, but running's not really my thing. But I do it because I tell everybody I'm too lazy to figure out something else I like better. So I like to sign up for 5Ks, and that way it forces me to go ahead and train a little bit and to run one. If I didn't go ahead and sign up for them, I don't know how much I would run. So I just ran a glow run in Atlanta, Texas, just a couple of weeks ago. And, I'm not the fastest or anything like that, but I mean, I run under a 10-minute mile. So I guess, it's not horrible. And I never would have thought I'd do that.
You're out there doing it, so that's awesome. Anything that's changed for you in your family situation, like with your kids or your wife, that has kind of surprised you, or that you maybe weren't able to do before? Whether it's running around with kids or whatever. Anything in that arena that's kind of gotten better?
No. Well, actually, my wife for 3 years, just about, my wife has resisted being, eating plant based. I do it on my own. I mean, my wife and my children don't eat the way I do. Uh, it's kind of a struggle sometimes because you got to cook one meal and then they got to make another meal. But just recently, my wife has gone uh, plant based. She's not whole food. She still eats the oil and this, that, other. And but I'm happy about that. If that's a change that you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. But I mean, that was something I was excited about. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and I just realized that there is no meat and there's no dairy in my refrigerator. So, you know, I mean, this has all just been recently, like within the last several months. So, I mean, this is, that's exciting to me. Um, well, I run around with my kids. Like the other day, we had a Nerf gun fight in the front yard, stuff like that. Instead of just watching through the glass door at the door, sitting on the couch or anything like that. So, yeah, I've done a lot of things. I think I'm trying to be more of a role model for my kids. So I'm hoping that they see what I'm doing, and it changes them. My oldest son, he's a little overweight, and I'm not forcing him into anything, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. Right at first when I first started this, it was for my family, but it was about me. I don't know if that makes sense. It was about me getting better, but I did it for them, and I just want them to see what I've done, and hopefully one day, even if it's not right now or next week, before there's any problems, I hope that they change and go my way. But as far as just doing a whole lot of changes, yeah, just being able to go outside and run with the kids, and when they want to, they don't always like to. They like video games, but I try to get them out, try to get them going somewhere, walking, riding bicycles, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what would if you could have a conversation with somebody who's at the beginning of this, who's where you were 110 pounds ago, and is trying to kind of navigate and figure things out? What advice or what words would you give them to kind of give them a push in the right direction?
Well, if they're already wanting to, I'd be like, man, you're doing something smart right away. That's You want to make a change. That's awesome. I would say keep it simple. You know, uh, a lot of people have all these pictures, and they kept journals and stuff like. I didn't. I just, you know, each day I'd be like, I'm not going to eat any meat or dairy. The next day, I'm not going to eat any meat or dairy. And hey, this is working. I'm not going to eat. So I didn't keep up with it. And you know, I think a person, if they just keep it simple and stay at it, if they need the journal, do it. If they don't need the journal, and they feel bad if they eat this and they have to write it down, then just eat some rice with some vegetables. Eat some oatmeal with some fruit. Yeah, I know a lot of people that get the recipe books, Forks Over Knives, and I'm not talking anything bad about any of them, but they have so many uh, like ingredients, and sometimes you don't know what they are. And I think people think it's a chore to cook because you got to cut up everything and all that stuff. So I would say if cooking is a chore to you and you don't really enjoy it, just keep it simple. And after a while, you'll enjoy the food. It doesn't take that long. And you'll feel better. Just stay with it. If they're already on the path, just stay with it and work at it. If you've got any social media or anywhere in town that does any kind of vegan and you can interact with them, I think that really helps. The support is really good.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then if you could go back in time and have a conversation with your, 110-pound heavier self, and you think, before you had to go to get a physical and, get kind of that news, if you think there's anything that you could say that would have maybe gotten you started a little earlier, what would that be?
I don't know. If I could just grab myself and take myself to my dad's hospital bed, or I could say, this is what you're going for. This is where you're headed. Even though I probably knew it, nobody pointed it out. And I think that would probably be it. I mean, just knowing that food caused all of his problems. I mean, all of it. I don't see anything outside other than he was in a car wreck that had him where he couldn't walk very well. But I think the weight, magnified that, because it was his back. So I think if somebody, and yeah, that would be it. I think if I could just show kind of like an Ebenezer Scrooge thing. Like this is you. And actually, my progression was faster than my father's because he didn't start getting sick till he was in his 50s, and I was already on my way, and I was just 40. So, of course, I had moved out, and I probably ate worse than he did at my age. So, I was on my way, and I was on a fast track.
Well, lastly, where can people connect with you and find out more about what you have going on?
Well, my if anybody wants to, my email is Phil PHILM Green #1 at yahoo.com. I'm also a member of some of the Facebook pages like McDougal Friends. If they're already on McDougal Friends, they can look me up. Um, but I'm on Facebook. It's open to anybody. I don't have any privacy really settings. So if anybody just wants to look me up, I'm there. Right now, it's got my two sons' pictures up, and but I'm on there, and that's the only way I've got. I don't have any special web pages or blogs or anything like that. So not yet. Maybe one day. But
Okay, great. Well, Phil, thanks so much for the time and for sharing your story and giving us some inspiration. I really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to catching up with you soon.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one.
All right. You too.